This video, we are dismantling the shallow hypothesis that melanin is this almighty detoxifier of heavy metals, okay? So, I've been doing this over the past few days. I've tried filming this video as I was doing it. I felt like it was more productive to just get everything done and then I can just kind of walk you through it because it was just taking too long. So yes, I did. I did have Chat GPT refer to me as Mr. Stinky. All right, so I first started asking. We're going to look at all the studies that have been done about melanin binding to heavy metals. All right. So this is done in mice, with mice skin. This metal, molybdenum, I don't know how to say it, sorry, accumulates in darker skin rather than light skin, is what it's saying here. This is from fungal melanin. So this is actually sort of supporting agenus and the moldy berries, which I have an article on primaldietcoaching.com as well as my Substack if you want to read more about that. But yeah, mold is a great detoxifier of heavy metals. Marine bacteria, that has a lot to do with humans, right? Again, this is what it's copper, mercury, lead, CR? I don't know what that one is. I don't remember. So, squid ink. All right. Melanin acts as a reservoir for metals like calcium and zinc, and iron and copper. So the reason this is a thing is because melanin is present in the brain, the eyes, the hair, the skin, and so your body needs heavy metals to operate. It needs these minerals to operate and function because the metals create a conduit for magnetism, which is what governs all life. So, yeah, so melanin's already doing its job with these minerals and these metals, right? That's why we have them, and that's why melanin reacts with them, and that's why melanin is important with the sun, right? So, melanin nanoparticles. So this all on the surface looks pretty promising, right? Except, when you dive into it, all of these melanin sources, aside from the mice and the fungus, right? Because this is actually happening in mice and this is actually happening in fungus, they're all synthetic. These are the full text studies. You can just ask ChatGPT this and you can go through them yourself if you want. It's really important to read the methodology. A lot of these quantards, they're just reading the abstract or they're parroting what Jack Kruse says without any investigation and trusting him. So, I'm not going to listen to, right? I'm not going to listen to a boomer who tells people to take methylene blue and ivermectin and be afraid of germs and viruses are contagious, all right? I'm not going to listen to an arrogant, insufferable boomer, okay? So this breaks it down, right? We have naturally occurring melanin, which is what is in humans. Synthetic melanin doesn't have anything to do with us. This stuff it mimics eumelanin, but it's not as complex as the melanin in our bodies. It's more pure. It's specifically, right, the biological role that's synthesized for heavy metal absorption, right? And it's engineered. Okay. So why you just see why I'm frustrated here in a sec. So this is a detailed breakdown of the studies and the types of metals removed and their quantities. So again, you can just read through all this, like the marine, and this is in the same order of the studies I went over first. So, or actually, no, it isn't. I'm sorry, because the mice was first, but the fungus was second. Where's the mice? Oh, so I guess several other sources were not synthesized. Interesting. I'm not sure why the mice example isn't showing up. But anyway, oh no, there's the mice example. But anyway, moles, I don't really know how big that is. So milligrams per gram. So that would be like 1/10 of a gram per gram of metal is removed. And that's a significant amount, but again, this is happening in an environment where there's nothing else except the metals and the melanin. And this is their capacity. So the highest adsorption is copper and lead. Oh, chromium is the CR. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to sound stupid if I got it wrong. Cadmium and zinc capacities are significantly lower. Decent with bacterial. Notable binding in synthetic melanin. So tell me about how these studies would compare to the melanin produced in the human body. So here's how they're compared. So these are purified or synthesized, and their complexity is controlled and consistent. The human melanin is, like I said, it's in our tissues, it's in our cells, right? It's complex. It already has proteins, lipids, and ions attached to them. It's not a pure substance like the lab melanin. It is not free in accessible form. It's part of melanosomes in the skin, hair, eye cells, the brain. It makes it harder to extract. It's also less available to bind to free-floating metals, free radicals, unless those metals permeate the cells. But even then, it's limited because those melanin already have a job to do. So this is the metal binding capacity in the expected human melanin behavior. It likely binds, but what extent due to cellular barriers? It's less efficient in binding in vivo. It may oxidize or convert. Chromium may oxidize or convert. Mercury may bind, but the mercury prefers brain and lipid sites, right? So again, this is another ogenous. He said the mercury likes to go to the brain. Here we go, confirmation. Skin binding, higher in dark skin. So if there are metals on or in the skin, then metals will bind there, most likely. But there really aren't a lot of metals in the skin, unless they're coming out of it, right? Unless it's a detoxification. Some sequestrin in skin and eyes. That's interesting. So human melanin can bind metals in the body, but it depends where they are. It depends on your pigmentation level, and it depends on the type of metals. So transition metals bind better than alkali or alkaline earth metals. Interesting. Why would that be? Let's ask that. We'll come back to this. I want to get through these few points first, but we'll get back to this. I copied it. We'll get back to that. So, functional differences. The study melanin is optimized for absorption. So it's programmed to be adsorptive. Ours is not I don't believe in evolution, right? Me personally, But the purpose of our melanin is not to bind or remove metals. If it's inside cells, it's bound to melanosomes. It's not available to do that. The capacity for binding to heavy metals is reduced. Bound melanin is not reusable. Sorry, Jack Kruse. Limited to natural detox or tissue protection roles. Okay. Melanin may protect against oxidative metal toxicity, but it won't remove metals systemically the way synthetic or isolated melanin can be used. So in vivo. This is the mice thing. Binding is not detoxification. It is passive storage or sequestration. So heavy metals also bind to your brain, your glands, your fat. So it's passive storage. The body is putting the stuff there to mitigate damage. Melanin isn't detoxing heavy metals, right? So this is their whole thing. Melanin binds to metals, but that does not mean detoxification. So just because you have melanin that binds to heavy metals doesn't mean it's actually going out of the body. That's where the primal diet comes in, because you can eat and gain new cells, and eventually replace those older cells over time, as well as utilizing different formulas and concoctions that Augenis made to get rid of those things, different food combinations, right? So this talk of melanin detoxing heavy metals is wrong. Again, this is just people who have a shallow understanding of health, who just parrot what Quantum Quack Jack says, and then run away with things. They'll show the abstract of a study and say, "Oh, look at the abstract of this study." I'm gonna ignore reading and trying to explain and understand the methodology. So this is where I come in. So melanin inside the human body is not optimized for metal removal like the lab experiments. It's not practical for systemic detox or therapeutic metal removal. I promise. I'm slurring my words. It sounds like I'm drinking, but I'm not. I'm not drinking. I plan to drink in probably 4th of July, around there, because I have some cider left and I'm going to get my drink on a little bit. Life is short. Life is all about experiences, I say. So, unless it's extracted or purified or engineered, it's not going to detox heavy metals. So, if I understand correctly, if melanin is already bound to cells and tissues, it is not free, so it is not able to travel the body and bind to heavy metals or free radical. Yes, Mr. Stinky, you understand that exactly right. Oh boy, look at that. Let me see here. I got something funny. I'm trying to up the frickin'. Here it is. The quality value, the production value of this production, and let's see here. I don't know what would be good to use. I'll think about it. I'll come back to that. I have a little treat for you. Anyway, so I'm correct, of course. It's bound. It's not free floating. It can't travel around the body. The binding function is local. It only works where it exists, and mostly in protective roles, absorbing UV into the light, sequestering metal ions in pigmented neurons. So, like I said, these metals work with the melanin to make the body work. Do you need a visual analogy? Do you need a visual analysis? Okay, stop. How do I stop it? All right. How'd you like that? How's that production value, guys? So what could bind metals in the blood? Ooh, proteins. The main mobile detox agents. If you want to use it therapeutically, you have to inject it, engineer it. Yucky. If melanin is present in the skin, hair, eye, and brain tissues, heavy metals also in those areas, how much free melanin can be used to detox the metals in these areas? Yes, Mr. Stinky. Excellent question, and you're thinking in exactly the right direction. I really like ChatGPT. It's really grown on me. It's really grown on me, you know? All right. Very little to none. Let me say that again. Very little to none. And you can see this. I'm just realizing you can see this. And I don't want to gatekeep. I don't want to be
chicken jockey
in I don't know, insincere, right? Yeah. So.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah. So let's look back here. Very little to none of the melanin in your body is free, but bound melanin in those tissues can sequester heavy metals locally, passively, and only to a limited extent.
What the hell? What the hell I did? What the hell on? What the hell berry?
So these people, yeah, man, melanin detoxes heavy metals. Yeah, melanin detoxes heavy metals, man. No, it doesn't. Just shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do this. You couldn't spend, I don't know, 30 minutes and think of sophisticated questions to ask Chat GPT. You couldn't do that? Really? Why not? I could do it. So why couldn't you?
No, 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 no.
So, yes, the stuff accumulates in the skin. The capacity is finite. It doesn't neutralize or remove the metal. It simply stores or slows its activity. If overwhelmed, the metal causes oxidative damage despite melanin presence.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
That's the quantum people. That's the quantum people reeling because I'm totally dismembering their argument. So it still does damage no matter how much sun you get. No matter how much sun you get. If you have too much, it's going to overwhelm your skin. The hair contains a lot of melanin. Hair analysis is used for metal testing. Hair is dead tissue. Any metal bound here is effectively locked away. Not part of detox. The detox happens from the scalp cells, from the scalp nodules, the scalp pores. I'm not sure what that is or what the exact terminology is. So yeah, that's it's already out of your body. The hair is a trash bin more than a filter. The melanin protects against light and oxidative damage. it binds these, and it's passive sequestration, not active detox. It may not remove them. It may not remove them. Brain melanin is abundant in dopamine-producing neurons. It actively binds iron, manganese, copper, lead, etc. It can store metals for decades. But wait, there's more. There's more. I need to make an account so I can just get all my sounds I want. All right. But neuromelanin gets overloaded with iron, triggering cell death and Parkinson's disease, allegedly. It can protect or become toxic, depending on how saturated it is. No free neuromelanin exists to detox the rest of the brain. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
What was that? That no free neuromelanin exists to detox the rest of the brain? That's the quantum people right now. Because this would be, and I even just said it before this would be the only saving grace for their theory, that somehow, because the brain produces so much melanin, that it would be able to help sequester and eventually remove the melanin, the metals, the melanin-bound metals. But it doesn't even do that. It doesn't even do that. So that's not good for them. This is a chart for them. One-shotted. Skin, limited. Hair, none. Eyes, limited. Brain, mixed. Protective but risky. Blood organs, 0. Your blood, your organs, your glands, 0. It's 0. Okay? So, melanin can bind and hold metals, but only in the tissues where it resides. It can't circulate or actively detox like a chelating agent. It's passive. No free melanin exists to help anywhere else. When melanin becomes overloaded, it may turn from protector to hazard, especially in the brain. Ooh. All right, we had this. Tell me about how transition metals with melanin, please. All right, we're gonna let that road. That's so great. I owned them. I owned the Quantards.
Hey, listen.
All right. Look at that. Extra please appreciation. You know, Sam Altman said it costs like so much money when you ask ChatGPT things like, and you tell it thank you, you say please, you're welcome. So whenever I can remember, I'm always using please and thank you. Transition metals. All right, let's see here. Here's the table. Transition metals: iron, copper, zinc, manganese. So, yeah, these are essential for life. Very essential, very important. The alkali metals: sodium and what is K? It's not calcium. It's potassium, right? Yeah, it's potassium. And see, it's like autocorrect. It knows. You're so smart, ChatGPT. You are so smart, ChatGPT. Thank you very much. That's great. Potassium is too weakly charged. Potassium's not really a problem unless it's the free radical from cooked foods and stuff. Um, and that gave me a lot of information about potassium that I didn't need. Calcium and magnesium, lower binding, negligible absorption. And these are just from studies, so it doesn't really tell me about the mercury, lead, chromium. Let's ask it, what about mercury, lead, chromium, aluminum? In the context of synthetic versus natural melanin. I'm probably going to reach my free limit here soon. So, again, this is natural. Okay, so it's not. It should have been. All right. Okay, so the location, bound inside cells, it's immobile. Binding sites, fixed in tissues, basically. Capacity is moderate. Locally in tissues, hair and brain. Chromium, it's going to damage cells before the melanin can bind. Aluminum is weakly bound in brain. Melanin stores, it doesn't remove, here it is again, it may accumulate metals over time. So the metals eventually just become a problem. It doesn't matter how much sunlight you get, right? You need the foods to mitigate them and remove them. Natural melanin is better at trapping them in tissues and not clearing them, and it can backfire if you have too many. So, trapped, bind, stored long term, gut detox not possible, not mobile or deliverable for natural melanin. Oral melanin shows potential. Nanomedicine. Yeah, nanomedicine. That's really fun, right, guys? All right, I don't want to go into any more of this. We're at 30 minutes. I hope this was interesting for you. I hope this was shining a light on some things for you. But yeah, essentially all this shows that melanin does not detox heavy metals. People who say that don't know what they're talking about. They just latch onto something and don't investigate it. So, always investigate. I'm not someone who, I do latch onto a lot of things Audrina says, but I'm not so strict. I'm not gonna live or die by his word. I will research things because he's not doing research anymore because he's dead, and things change. We find new things all the time, so that's important to remember. Again, not knocking the guy, not saying I don't do the diet. Pretty much 100%. It's the farmer's market season. The one thing I do is I'll drink a kombucha like once a week, but it's made with, perfect ingredients. The water is not tap water, so I am not really harming myself. And I eat it with eggs. So anyway, just saying, I'm not, I'm not an acolyte. I'm not a stan. I'm not one of these obsessed freak. So, like I eat strawberries, right? I eat strawberry ice cream. Very sweet. No, he says don't eat strawberries. I eat the center of watermelon. He says it's too much sugar. I don't care. It's once a year. I love watermelon, right? So I don't, I'm not so serious and strict in that way. But just saying, you always got to verify. Trust but verify. That's what we're doing here. We're exposing the quantards and quantum quack jack for giving people the false hope that, the melanin will detox and remove heavy metals when we know from the studies they cite that's not the case. It can only bind to them. It cannot remove them. So again, I hope you found this helpful. I hope it reinforces the need for, eating lots of fat. If you want to go the route of detoxification, accelerated detoxification, read my Moldy Berry article. It's going to walk you through everything you need. Again, don't try that until you've been on the diet at least 2 years and you have some good weight on your body. It's not going to be a fun time, but, it may help you. So just proceed with caution, educate yourself, do your own research. So I hope you find that helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Also, side note, Primal Diet Conference is July 17th. We still have tickets available. If you want to support this channel, if you want to support my work, sign up on Patreon or send me just a Cashapp donation. I do have something cooking in the works, a fresh meat delivery, a fresh meat source, Amish, perfect quality, chicken, pork, beef, right? Sheep. So the glands, the organs, anything you need, this guy's going to be able to get it to you. You're going to sign up through me. It's probably going to be like $40-$50 to sign the forms and join the membership. So anyway, working on that, working on the conference, working on stuff like this. So take it easy.